to go through a student essay with you just to give you an idea of what formatting looks like and what common errors are. When I first open up this document, and I am in Microsoft Word, so on a Mac, so it does look a little bit different than PC versions. When I look through here, I automatically know that there's a problem because there's no header. So I need to click somewhere in the header, and I'm going to put the page number. Then I'm going to go on the other side of it and put the student's last name, which in this case is student. Then we need to move it over to the right, so we write justify it. Now on Word, a lot of times this is not in Times New Roman, it's in like Calibri 11. So what will happen is your page header will look different than the font on the rest of your page. It's a tricky thing to make sure you catch, but it is something that's pretty simple. When I look down here at the heading, there seems to be extra space between each item on here. And just to double check, if I look down here into a paragraph, I can tell that this has more space than in the paragraph. What is happening here, and this is something Word automatically defaults to, so you'll need to actually change it every time, is the paragraph spacing is wrong. So what you need to do is go into Format, Paragraph. You want to make sure you're set at double space. And then this, before and after, both need to be set to 0. So as I hit OK, watch what happens to the document behind me. See, it shrinks. Now you can tell the heading here has the same spacing as the rest of the paragraph. The space between the paragraphs is the same as well. I'm going to go ahead and increase this size just so it's easier for us to look at as we go. When you have your title, you only want to go down to the next line to begin your paragraph. So the paragraph actually should have started on this line. So you want to go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to go through this document relatively quickly. What I'm going to look for now is parenthetical citations. So here is a parenthetical citation. Based on what we've talked about before with what signal words are, from this citation, we would need to find a signal word that says encyclopedia. However, that's unlikely. So I'm going to look for anything that says encyclopedia or Pika. Go down to the Works Cited page, which is, oops, missing a title. So why don't we just go ahead and fix that now. So I see an entry that says Pika. Apparently there is no author for this citation, which is very likely in an encyclopedia. Also, it says web, so I know there's not a page number. They've also included a URL, which is not okay in MLA formatting anymore, so we're going to go ahead and delete that. But I still need to fix that citation on page 1, so I'm going to go ahead and go up here. And I'm going to delete the word encyclopedia, and remember you always delete the comma. So the in-text citation here is just going to be Pika in quotes because it is an article out or an entry in an encyclopedia. I see the same problem here. So this student just made the same error twice. So we want to make sure that we change that. If we continue down a little bit longer, I see another one. Brody eating disorders. Brody sounds like a last name, and eating disorders is quoted, so I know it's some kind of a title. But it also has a comma in here. So to make sure I get this correct, I'm going to go down to the Works Cited page, and I'm going to look for Brody and eating disorders. We have a problem here. We have eating disorders, and we have eating disorder signs and symptoms, which is very close. And neither of them tell us the word Brody. So I don't really know which one it is, so therefore I don't know which citation is correct and how to fix the in-text citation. In a case like this, this would just be incorrectly cited because I don't have the information I need to get it. So while I'm on this page, I'm going to go ahead and delete this URL, and then I'm also going to delete this URL and this last one. So it looks like every source in this paper is a web source. Okay, so we're going to go back up here to find Brody. And I'm going to take, if I were to correct this with an article that does not have an author, I would take Brody out. So it would look like this, like that encyclopedia one did before. But if I did know which citation it was, I would just do Brody. And because it's a web citation, because it's something found on the web, there's not a page number. So I'm going to leave it as Brody here because the reader would just have to go find the Brody source. So let's go back and look for some more. Here we have eating disorders and symptoms. I remember seeing something about eating disorders on the last page. So let's see what it says. Eating disorder, signs and symptoms, sidebar. This is actually okay, fine to cite it this way. It probably won't have an author and a sidebar. A sidebar is like when you have a shaded area off to the side in a little box that gives more information about something that's in the main text of the document. I would probably, if I was going to shorten it, I would shorten it to signs and symptoms, because in the citation above, all the student did was eating disorders and symptoms, which really didn't shorten it at all. So if I would just use signs and symptoms. And this one you would not quote because it's not the full title. I see obesity here. It is the right signal word, but it is not quoted. And it does need to be quoted because it's the title of an article. And then here I see obesity again, and I'm going to quote that one. So now let's just take a minute and look at the works cited page. I already put the title in, but if you noticed, I centered it when it was tabbed, so it didn't center properly. Now it is. It also has extra space here. Your works cited page should always begin on its own page. And the way you make sure to do that so that you don't have extra spacing in between is at the end of your paper, insert a page break. And that should take care of works cited, and then also it should make it to where it starts at the top margin like it's supposed to. When you look at a works cited page, it should always be alphabetical in order of the first signal word. So this one is not. We would need to have eating disorder, signs and symptoms, then eating disorders, then obesity, and then PICA.